So, good evening, everybody. My name is Pauline Conley. I, along with my good friend and stalwart companion, Heather Haas, put this little candidate form together one early morning after reading a number of people's questions about having one on the various social media we all follow. So we are here with, all candidates were invited, opposed, unopposed. Some will be here, some will not, by their choosing. First up is Mr. Tom Horgan, our current moderator, and Mr. Sam Goodwin, who is running for the seat, which is a 3-year term. The rules are fairly simple. The candidates have been given them in advance. I will read those for you, but I first wanted to make sure you all know, anyone who's present or will be watching this, APAC will begin broadcasting this forum tomorrow. They need some time to do the editing and uploading. Tomorrow being Friday, April 19th. The forum can also be seen live streamed, I learned how to do this evening, on ayerpac.org. That's AYERPAC.org, O-R-G. I understand that will also be available tomorrow, and if you have any difficulties knowing how to do that, I can't help you. But it should all be on their website. So the rules for tonight: each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. We have a series of questions that came in by email, and we have several people here in the audience who are here, I presume, to ask questions. We will take audience questions first, and then I will read the emailed questions, so we are sure to have enough time. And once all of the questions that have been submitted or asked by the audience have been completed, I will give each candidate the opportunity to ask the other a particular question, if they choose to do so. The question will be given 2 minutes to answer. Heather will be doing the timing. She has some little signs there to tell you so you don't have to time yourself. And we'll begin. I guess we'll just begin with the statements, as I said. I want to make sure everybody is able to get seated before we start chatting. Okay, so before the candidates start, do either of you have any questions about the rules as I've read them and as they were explained earlier to you? Okay. So, Mr. Horgan, as the incumbent, I will give you the opportunity to speak first.
Thank you. My name is Tom Horgan. I am the current moderator. I was first elected in 2013, and I think I've done a pretty good job. Since I became moderator, only one town meeting has gone more than one night. Do we need to hold the microphone?
Barry?
No, you can.
Okay. Only one town meeting has gone one night. I have made mistakes. I know I have. And actually every year I made the same mistake every year. That, if I'm re-elected, that will change. I will introduce the stage. But beyond that, thank you.
Mr. Goodwin.
Good evening. My name is Sam Goodwin. I have been a resident of Ayer for 7 years. I am a mechanical engineer by trade and a member of the ZBA, a constable, and I'm running for the town moderator's job. If elected as a moderator, it would be my job to run the town meeting in an orderly fashion. The warrant issued by the BOS and the town employees working hard to put it together to provide you as much information as you can get in order to make a concise decision on your ballot. As a town moderator, I would not inhibit that process, but instead encourage it in order to assist in letting the voters have all the information they need. If elected, I would be a presentation-friendly town moderator. If elected, I'd work alongside the town manager and the town clerk to prepare the town meeting by reviewing the warrant so I could get a good grasp of the articles, and through the review would coordinate with other boards and committees that may be required to be present on stage with the BOS at town meeting. If elected, it is my goal to enhance the efficiency of the duties of the town moderator, and I hope you would consider me for the polls on election day. Thank you.
Thank you both. Does anyone in the audience have a specific question for either candidate or both candidates? If I would make a suggestion, let each candidate answer your question for evenness and fairness. David?
Yeah, I just, it's something that I know has come up a few times. I'm sure Tom's heard about it, but is our town meeting regulated by like Robert's rules, or what? If not, what rules are actually in use?
We use Robert's rules.
We are using Robert's rules.
Yes.
That's good to know, because that is something that's available for everybody in town to look up on the web. Just so that's great. I really wanted to understand that for sure. Great, thanks.
Ernie?
Yes, I'd like to know from both actually, do you feel it's more important to rush a meeting than it is to have all the people go up and speak that can?
I'll answer first. No, actually, I don't. I think all the citizens that want to discuss an issue should have that right to discuss. You know, if the person's going off issue though, then you need to be brought back onto the issue or sit down. But it shouldn't be rushed, no. Everybody has the right to speak.
Sam?
I agree, I concur with that. Each resident has a right to their say. Again, it needs to be germane to the issue and not drifting off as some tend to do. So as long as we keep it in line, everyone should have their piece.
Anyone else have a question for the moderator position? Heather?
I submitted a question in
Right.
writing, but I may be able to articulate it a little bit better verbally. Is that okay?
That's perfectly
Ms.
fine.
Moderator for the evening?
Yes,
Thank you.
I had it here ready to go.
So I had a question more just about the future of town meeting, the sustainability of town meeting. We have a lot of new people that have moved into town, and for those that don't know, the town moderator runs and owns town meeting. That is his or her venue. They are the person that manages it. And my question for both of you is, how do you, as the moderator, see the future of getting the younger community and the younger families more active in town meeting? Because some of them have either not had any experience, maybe they've come in from a town with representative town meeting, maybe they've come from out of state where things were done differently. So I think my question is, I have kids that range in age from 18 to 21. How do we reach them? And it may not be something that you have direct involvement in, but just as seasoned folks around town and civically involved and stuff, how do you see the effort of the town moderator? I know that we have Robert's Rules posted online. I know that there's a citizen's guide to town meeting that's posted online, but how do we reach? I know the last thing my 21-year-old daughter wants to do is go read a white paper off of a website. So how do we reach them and get them to understand the value of town meeting isn't just a social media discussion, it's actually showing up? How do we reach them? And I'd like just to get your perspective on that.
Sam,
You want to give it a shot?
And then nothing too, I was just,
Actually, I
That's a hard one.
haven't specifically looked at those age groups. But one thing I've done since I've been moderator is reached out to Boy Scout troops and say, well, you're welcome, bring them up, let them watch town meeting, let them learn how democracy works.
okay.
And there hasn't been much of a response, but I reached out.
Sam?
I think the answer to your question is a broader brush, all right? The sense of democracy is instilled from your parents.
Yeah.
It's from your home. If your parents or guardians have no interest, chances are pretty good that the offspring are going to follow the same guidelines. As a town official in any capacity, all we can do is direct versus inhibit. We can't do that. It comes from the family. It's something that the people who are going to the town meetings now, the people that are going to the elections now, they're the ones that have to teach the younger generation the value of the democracy.
Thank you. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, David.
Well, another short and simple, maybe not the answer as much, is do you have an opinion on the kind of an ongoing thing that's been that town meeting should have a quorum of 100 versus a quorum of 50. And I do understand that sometimes getting a quorum of 50, after the discussion you just had, is really difficult. But I know that it has come, I've been hearing that that's something that may be coming back up again in the next year or so, that people would like to raise it to 100 because we have such a small percentage of people showing up at town meetings. Sometimes, it used to be you were on cell phone calling the fire station, calling places to try to get enough people. So you have an opinion, is it worth that, well, I don't want to say worth the effort, but, should it be 100? Or is 50 a good representation? Tough one, but.
In my opinion, if you tried to increase it to 100, based on what I've seen over the last 7 years, with the declining attendance, the balance of the town is depending on the 100 or 200 people that show up to approve everything that happens in the town. To increase the quorum to 100 versus 50, I think could be detrimental. In some instances, it very well could be. You could have the entire assembly put together, you could have a warrant, you could have the whole package put together, and you got 48 people. Guess what? It just isn't gonna work. It goes right back to the question that Heather asked. How do you increase attendance? That goes back to the home. So personally, I think changing the quorum would be a bad decision.
Mr. Bedortha, actually, it used to be 100.
Somebody said that.
Back in the 80s, they lowered it to 50 because we weren't getting people. The situation that Sam laid out actually happened. I was at those town meetings. We couldn't have a meeting. Everybody was there ready to go. And you couldn't have the meeting.
And I would have to say that was prior, the first time I was here was in 77, 78, and I didn't see that, but
by the
it doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. Okay, great, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Claudia, and that's fine. Just kind of like getting back onto yours, but a little bit different there. I think so many new families who moved into it. I'm here 15 years, but I'm just now able to vote, so that's why, I'm here because I want to learn the candidates. But how do you get back out there and really, because there's almost no information anywhere out there that there are any elections. I mean, there's maybe a sign here, there's a sign there. If I wouldn't be on the page, on the Ayer community page, I wouldn't have even known that there's a town election. So why is the town not doing more to get there? No names from anywhere who are the candidates. So how do you expect people to show up if there's no information anywhere out there? So that's kind of like, so what can you do to change that, to get more visibility so that people actually know that there's something going on? Because not everybody's on Facebook and not everybody has an interest, but so it's just kind of, I think that's with the young adults, I think it's very important, but the young families or new people who moved here, they don't know anything here, and I'm sure they have no idea that there's a town election going on because there's no information out there. I was trying to find out just who are the candidates. I couldn't even find any information anywhere. That's why I was so glad that forum was, because at least you can get a sense of. So.
Tom, Sam, you want to address the question?
Is there a question in there?
Well, the question is, what do you feel like can be done to increase visibility so that people really, they show up to elections, town elections, not just, the national or the federal, that show up to town meetings. So what do you think can be done in order to increase visibility?
I think there is a substantial amount of advertisement through various media sources. I mean, I expect to see that 5x5 sign out in front of the police station flashing here in a few days. There are signs around town, there are postings on bulletin boards or postings in half a dozen different places. But I think one of the largest is word of mouth. I really do.
People who just moved here, they don't know anybody. I mean, I have 15 years, but I don't know anybody here in Ayer, so
do you go by the town hall?
I drive by.
Is there signs out front, town election? There's signs all around town.
But those went up Wednesday. I was there when they put them up.
They put them out a week ahead, I believe. I don't know if that's a statute or,
This is courtesy.
so, and they take them down a couple days after, but,
And the other thing is too, some of the candidates have signs out there too.
Very few and far between, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for your input very much. It's helpful. Anyone watching will also be more aware, so I appreciate the comment.
Can I ask one more? After.
Michael, I have a couple more here I'd like to ask, and then I'll get back to you. Okay. All right, Michael?
Good evening. Somebody who shall be nameless stole my question, but there's 4,000 odd voters in town. 50 as a quorum is incredibly low, really just a comment. But following on from that, we had talked about having town meetings on Saturdays. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a great idea. I think it might increase attendance. And if you had like the gun club or Boy Scouts do like a lunch at there and take an hour break and do like a barbecue or something, you know? I think it'd increase people, you know?
So a quick follow-up question, if I may, how do we do that?
It would require a change in town bylaws. Because the date of the town meeting is set by the bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, do you want to add anything?
I lived in New Hampshire for a little over 25 years, and our meetings were Saturdays. I am absolutely for it. I don't know about the barbecue, but I'm for it.
Open bar.
The moderator.
Now you're getting like
Elizabeth, you have a question?
Yeah, to be more specific, how would we go about changing that bylaw? What steps need to be taken to make that
A
happen?
simple citizen's petition.
That's all?
Yeah.
How many signatures do you need?
You'd have to check with the town clerk on that one.
Okay,
I'm not sure just what it is.
okay. I think we're gonna put that on the fall town meeting.
For the fall town meeting, you need 100 signatures.
100? Okay.
Yes.
100 signatures for fall town meeting?
Because the fall town meeting is technically a special town meeting.
Yeah.
It's not an annual meeting. All right, I have a question here for the moderators, moderator candidates. The United States Congress and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts elected bodies open their sessions with a non-denominational prayer. Town meeting once was opened with prayer, which stopped, I've forgotten it, like 12, 15 years ago, or maybe not quite that long. If you are elected moderator, would you resume the practice of opening town meeting with a prayer? Why or why not?
I would not, and here's my reasoning for it. I see a lot of towns, I've just seen a case in New York where they open the city council meetings with a prayer. And they use every priest or minister in town, a rabbi, but they got in trouble, get sued because they had Muslim residents who didn't have a temple in town. So, you know, how far do you go to accommodate everybody? You know, I'm not smart enough to know how many religions we have in town. You know.
Sam?
I would not. Religion, in my opinion, is a personal choice. The fact that the people are there not to pray, they're there, well, hopefully not to pray. They're there for the town meeting. They're there for the articles, the warrant. Opening with a prayer, I think, is out of place. I support the separation of church and state.
Okay. Thank you for those answers. Any other questions from David? I know, I'm sorry, I forgot you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, this is actually, addressing, you know, this lady's question is, the town, and I was part of it, the town at one time had a communications committee. And I'm not sure that that's something that the town moderator can appoint, or if that's a board of selectmen type. But with the communications committee used to set this up about a month ahead of time, email, you know, the candidates, get the questions out there ahead of time, But we had a lot of time because there's 3 or 4 people that did it, and we started, we were able to start far enough ahead, and at the last minute get everybody's name and do it.
Is there a question there, David?
Yes, I'm probably more addressed to that, Tom, but do you know, does the town moderator have the ability to
No.
appoint to that kind of a
You just
committee?
know that belongs to selectmen.
It is, okay, and that's kind of.
The only appointing authority the moderator has is the finance
Finance
commission.
committee. Okay. Great.
All right. Sam, Tom, do you have a question for each other?
I don't.
All right. Do you want to give a brief closing? I didn't throw that into the rules, I didn't think of it, but if you would like to, you may.
I just ask you to consider me Monday and re-election moderator. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. I heard a rumor around town that I don't live in town. I live at number 10 Pearl Street. Okay?
It doesn't have to be, I haven't heard that one.
Great. Sam?
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. If elected, I work alongside the town clerk and the town manager to cover all the duties expected of the town moderator, such as the poll, swearing in elected officials, appointing members of the FinCom, chair special BOS, school committee meetings, if I need to, at the Neshoba Valley Tech, and of course, moderate the meeting. I hope you'll consider me on election day. Thank you.
We're going to start with the selectmen candidates. We have Mr. Pattenden here, Michael Pattenden from Westford Road?
Yes.
Right. And Ruth Maxon Schultz, Taft Street?
Taft Street.
All
I don't know
right.
how I got that right. Are the 2 candidates vying for the current seat held by Mr. Hillman, who is not here this evening. So we will go through the same process, questions from the audience. We have some questions that came in online as well. And then the candidates will have the opportunity to ask each other a question, should they choose to do so. Opening statement, same as before. And this time I'm going to make an executive decision. Let ladies go first.
I'm Ruth Maxon Schultz, live on Taft Street, and I grew up here in Ayer. I was actually born at the old hospital. And I just want to thank you all for coming. I really appreciate that so much, and I really appreciate Heather and Pauline getting together and making this happen. Now, if they'd asked me, I would have said, no, I'm good, we can just skip this, because as Michael said, it is scary up here. But I appreciate that. That's what volunteers do, is they see a need and they get together and they do something about it. And that's what I see have been lacking in this town for a while. And I really want to encourage you. Here, I'm encouraging you because I'm here, even though it's scary up here. So we have a lot of professionals here that do their job. They do a great job. We have a wonderful finance committee at the town hall. Our bond rating has been wonderful for years, and we borrow money. We do it at a good rate. We have, the DPW does wonderful. Love Mark Wetzel when he does his presentations. They're absolutely fantastic. He has a lot to work with the water supply and everything, but he does a great job. But the real heart of the community is the volunteers. I'm sure we wouldn't have the Sandy Pond Schoolhouse if it wasn't a volunteer group that did it. The Historical Commission kept the Pleasant Street School viable until it became senior housing. And it's just wonderful to see volunteers do that, and that's what I'd like to see more. I grew up in a town when we had Fort Devens here. It was a diversity, and I don't see the diversity of people getting together and coming together, and that's what they should be able to do that, and without fear of being, having their diversity preyed upon, because they should be able to. I just said it's time. Yeah. I have so much more to say, but that's one of the things as far as selectmen is I want to see that happening again, as well as the professionalism at our town hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Mike?
Good
Michael,
evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Pattenden. I've lived in town since 1999. It's difficult. There is a clean town coming up in a couple of days. Thank you. But I feel the town has changed, not for the better. I don't terribly like the town in lots of ways now. Let's see if we can make a difference there. There's all sorts of things. I think I'll wait for the questions, hope that the questions come up, and then I can answer without saying it now. So, again, thank you everybody, those at home, those here.
Thank you, Mike. Questions from the floor first?
Well, I mean, I'll ask the question that come up, you know, I mean, I think, you know, what's been brought up today is, or tonight is a good thing that maybe the selectmen should think about reinstituting, if it's not called a communications committee, but it's basically a volunteer group that, you know, would take on possibly just this venue, maybe one or two others. We used to have a volunteer day, and you know that was driven, I think, by one of the members of the communication committee too, where you could just go up into town, into the main large hall, and just walk around table to table. So I mean, for both of you, you know, if either one of you get elected, I'd really like to see, you know, looking into, you know, maybe starting up some in groups that don't work all year round, but maybe just this kind of a venue group that would do this and really get that information out there, because we used to do it, and all of a sudden, you're right, there's a lack of it now, and new people come into town, which are a lot don't know.
Yes, if I may. I agree. I've run for selectman a couple of times before. One of those, APAC had a meeting with all the candidates and so on. I don't think there was an audience, but at least there was a meeting, and it was televised. That went away, and thank you for doing this one. A lady earlier on said about not enough information around. I take note of what's going on in town fairly well, I think, and I found difficulty in, you know, when's this happening, and so on. Going on the town website, I find it difficult sometimes to find information and so on. So I think the idea of the selectmen, the planning board, the finance committee, just to choose three, sitting in a big room and people being able to come in and just ask some questions, which they can't do otherwise, would be a great idea. I don't know how we can arrange that, but I'm in favour of it.
Ruth?
I think it's, as the community, we have to learn how to use the social media and the things that the young people learn how to use as second nature to them, where it isn't second nature to a lot of us. So I think we have to use that more. I also think the schools, as talked about earlier, that I know my parents dragged me to town meeting when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't have a cell phone I could play games on either when I sat there. I had to pay attention. So, but I think the schools, to encourage not just, I think there's a civics class they've talked about, make sure it's back in again. And to do that type of thing, maybe even give community service credits to kids when they want to come to town meeting or go to a selectmen's meeting or to a finance board meeting. I think that could be encouraged. And we don't have a town newspaper really anymore. And that was a big way. We used to have two of them for a while, and that was a big way to communicate. But I think going through the schools is very key on this.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Mike. Any other specific question from the audience for the selectman? Ernie?
Yes. As we all know, we're going to be having that marijuana dispensary that is going in very shortly and operating. My question is,
That's not me.
can we get that revenue that's going to be made from that to have it put towards relief for businesses and the residents for property taxes to keep them at an even level or do whatever, to use that money that's coming in for that? Because they do the meals tax in a sense as far as towards the old pit, they use that towards that. So I'm wondering, the question is that something that you would be in favor of doing, using the revenue coming from marijuana dispensary and putting it towards relief for businesses and residents to keep the property tax down?
Ruth, you want to take that one first?
Okay, well, I don't know if we already have in place where that's earmarked to what it, sometimes when the state regulates things, they earmark where it has to go to, like lottery's supposed to go to the schools and things, and I don't honestly know. I haven't been to the Board of Selectmen meeting when they've had a discussion about that to know if it's already earmarked. But if it's not earmarked, I would say, I would love to see it going toward, you know, lowering taxes or toward the special things that we would be charged extra for, taking out loans on something. I would love to see that. But I don't know if it is regulated or not. You know, if, can anyone answer that better, but.
Mike?
Thank you for the question. Yes, anything to keep taxes down, I'm in favour of. The only thing is, you grow a plant, you trim it, you sell it to a horde of people outside, you charge an exorbitant amount of tax on it, given what you're actually producing, and that tax seems to be used for all kinds of things. I think it ought to go into general revenue, unless there's some specific thing, like additional parking needed, or parking signs, you know, something like that. But put it into general revenue, and just try to keep taxes down overall. I'm in favour of it. I think that it may be, if not a good thing, at least not a negative thing. But yes, use the money for general taxation.
Thank you. Mike, any other questions from, yes, your name?
Kyle? So I moved to Ayer a few years ago, and one thing that we've found is like some of the selectmen are a little hard to get in contact with, like not showing up for forums even. So I'm wondering what you personally would do to be more communicative with the citizens there.
Mike, you want to take that one first?
I have one email address at the moment. I would probably take out another one for town business. I have 3 phones, but my home phone is the normal one. I mean, I'm nearly always there, so you're welcome to that one. Letters, just handed to the town clerk or the town manager. I think they should be, you should be able to reach them at any time. Maybe not for an instant answer, but at least an answer later on. So almost any way, I did get a call at 2 o'clock this morning asking me if I was somebody or other. I'd rather not quite that late, but any time, any normal time, yes.
Ruth?
I believe the selectmen should be very open to receiving, as Mike said, emails, phone calls, everything, because we're your representatives. Personally, I don't think I would want to be a selectman and take my own agenda and make the town into something I want. It's what you want. You're the people. You're the residents that live here. And I don't know what all is available as far as open letters and everything that Mike said would be just fine personal. Happy to meet down with you at McDonald's for a cup of coffee or something like that, or Wendy's for baked potato or whatever. So I totally agree, we should be open to meeting with the residents.
Is that good? Answer? Okay. Any other questions?
May I?
You want to rebut?
No, not
You want
really
to,
rebuttal.
you want to supplement?
No, but you do raise a point which I hadn't really thought of. Nearly every organisation, somebody talks about corruption and insider trading and so on and so forth. If you write me a letter, who's to say what's actually in it? So maybe there has to be some limits on where the letter goes, maybe directly to the town manager. He can open it and pass it on to me. Not trying to get around anything, but I don't want some underhanded way of accessing me, which could be seen as a violation of trust later on. So.
We have, oh, go ahead, Eric.
I have one more that's a real unpopular one.
Oh, you haven't heard mine yet, don't.
I'll say that in a minute. Studies have been done about this here, about workers and about how long they use their cell phone and computers during working hours. And I would like to know, is this something that should be looked into, or has this just become the new norm to expect an hour and a half of workers using the computer or the phone for whatever to do their business instead of personal business? Okay, I'd just like to know what you think about this, and has it become a norm that is accepted?
Ruth?
That's very difficult because the computer and the cell phones are computers, really.
Right.
And so how much you can transact business, so you can get text messages, you need to, like DPW, you need to get over here now or something, we have a water leak, and that's...
That's not what I'm talking about.
So how do you say, you're just playing on Facebook and you're not doing town work or whatever? And it would be very difficult to try to regulate that. I don't know I don't know how you can do that, except just to outright discourage it and have the supervisor say, these are our standards, this is what we expect from you, or we don't expect from you. But I think that's a supervisory position. I don't know how the Board of Selectmen can make that as a requirement somehow. And it's difficult for me too, because I haven't worked in a business when we had all that technology, so I'm not faced with it also. I haven't been faced with it. I see it happening. It bothers me more that kids use their cell phones and texting while they're in school, in the classroom. I think there should be a policy they have to leave their cell phones at the table when they come into their classroom or something. But
Maybe that should be done with workers too.
pardon?
Maybe that should be done with workers too, you're saying?
Could be, as long as they're not using it, they don't depend upon it for their business. Yeah, could be.
Mike?
So you're on the plane and the pilot says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to transact some private business. I'll be back with the plane shortly." No, you're working. You may get an emergency call, may come in on your normal landline. But no, you're working and we are paying you. And no, you don't use your private means of communication during working hours. You get a break in the morning and in the afternoon. You get a lunch break. No, sorry, I'm not in favour of it. I'm in favour of it being clamped down on. And basically, no, you don't use your private means of communication during working hours.
Carrying on with that theme, one of the questions that came in from a resident pertains also in many respects to your question. Emails to town officials go unanswered. This should never happen, and all emails should be answered. What do you as candidates do to improve timely communications between town officials and residents? This is a recurring theme this evening with some of your questions, so some of the questions. So I've forgotten who went first last, so Michael, why don't you go first?
It's difficult. You can't really argue with the sentiment behind the question. If I send an email to anyone, I'd like an answer. Do I always answer? like most people, no, I don't, but I ought to. But I don't know how you mandate that people will do it. It goes back to basic honesty, I guess. You get a question, you answer it. If you have to tell people to answer it, then maybe you need to hold a class on work behaviour. I'm not really sure. I agree with you, of course. You should answer emails. I don't quite know how you make people answer it. So.
Ruth, you want to take a stab at this one?
I agree. It's only courtesy to respect someone. If they've taken the time to email you, you should get back to them, even if it's just to say, I don't have an answer for you right now, but I'll see what I can do to find one. Something in that vein. I don't know, if maybe you just don't even want to answer them, but that's something, if you're a town official, you have to. You don't have a choice. You have to answer them. And just to respect someone, it's just courtesy to respond to an email.
Okay, from the...
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know there was a question earlier about how do we maybe eliminate or reduce the amount of personal time spent perhaps Facebooking and instant messaging and stuff during work hours, and then the question of returning emails on time. And so my question is, and I don't mean to sound naive, I know there used to be a personnel committee that established like basic best practices, right? Or was there HR guidelines or something at the town hall? Have there ever been? I don't know, and I don't mean to put anybody on the spot to answer.
I don't mind answering it, having been in that position, but there was a personnel board.
Did they establish like best practices and like HR code of conduct? Because I'm thinking a simple firewall proxy would eliminate half of the social media issues that we're talking about, and a simple commitment to service. I mean, I work in private business, and we just have a standard within my company that a response goes out within 24 to 48 hours, even if it's not a complete response. It's a thank you for your email. We will route this to the correct person. But that just becomes, that's an internal commitment to service. And I think that at the town level, that's a service-based position. And at the very least, you know, those kinds of things could be done. And I think the personnel committee reported to the selectmen, right? Was in an appointed position. And so effectively, you do act as the supervisors to the town administration by overseeing that. So as candidates and existing selectmen, you do have that kind of control. So I was just thinking out loud. There's not really a question, it was more a follow-up, sorry.
It's fine, it answers for the questioner, and maybe next time you can be sitting here.
Yeah, I need to be careful of that.
Let me continue on with the questions that we did get in by email. This is also for both of the candidates. How will you continue to work with other town boards to address the issues of abandoned and/or properties that have become a nuisance?
Could you repeat that? I couldn't.
Sure. How will you continue to work with other town boards to address the issues of abandoned and/or, I'll just say, nuisance properties that have become a nuisance? So, Michael.
There were some properties in town which were not abandoned but neglected, in poor condition and so on. And I felt the town went after those people viciously. But if the building is just abandoned, there's eminent domain, which almost nobody likes. If you can't find the owner, then I assume that after a period of time you can take it by eminent domain. It seems to me that we already have the power to take a building if we absolutely need to. I'm not enough of an attorney to be able to say that for sure. And working with the other boards, well, surely the board should come to the selectmen and say, this property is abandoned, we'd like to take it, and work that way. So it's not always the selectmen working with other people. That's not a very good answer. I think we already have the power to do it if we really need to do it.
Thank you. Ruth?
Well, right now, the town, I guess we already had a judgment we took by eminent domain down by the railroad, and we ended up getting sued. And then the farm, McNiff Farm on Westford Road, we were being sued for what we did there. And it bothers me that we would have to have this experience to think we're doing something right or for the town, and then end up in litigation about what the actions that we've taken. And so, yes, we have eminent domain, we have other, but I think there are ways to work with people that would be better than what we've done in the past, just because of the way it's ended up so far. So I'd like to work with the different boards. I don't know who all would be involved, whether it be tax titles and different things, but I think we've got to find a better way to do it.
Question?
Yes, but following up on the property enforcement, so I think that there could be a possible misunderstanding, and for the record, Selectman Janice Livingston, is that you have a complaint, a resident will come forward to have a complaint in regards to McNiff Farm.
Right.
And this was, you meet with the Board of Health, you meet with the building department, you meet with the town clerk for tax title. It's a joint thing. And in the case of McNiff Farm, that was actually when the state got involved due to the animals. And then the boards had to meet in a public meeting that was, public is always invited to the Board of Selectmen meeting and allowed to talk. But I guess my point is that we then follow through on many occasions on decisions that are made by the Board of Selectmen at town meeting. So a lot of those questions, to include eminent domain, was approved by town meeting. So the Board of Selectmen will bring the article, but town meeting is the one that'll say yay or nay. So do you understand the process?
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. I wish there had been a question in there, but I understand the answer. I understand your information, so I appreciate that. Another emailed question for the two of you. Also on a theme from tonight, how do you feel about using social media and other means of technology to promote and spread information on important town issues? Now, I know we've talked about this a few times. If you have something in addition to say with respect to using social media, this does not specify town email, town websites. This says social media. And of course, this is in terms of promoting town business, not, as Ernie asked, about personal business. So, Ruth?
I believe that we should use any media that we can, basically, to promote interest in the town, to promote what we're doing. Now, that's something I'm still learning how to do, but it seems to be that's the way everybody is communicating, not everybody, but that's the way many people communicate these days. I think we'd have to be careful in that what we communicate would be facts. This is a facts and not opinions on it, because that's what we want to gather from the residents. What is your opinion on these facts? This is what's happened, this is what's in the process, and just letting people know. And I really don't see any problem with using it as long as there's not accusations and all these other undercurrent of things going on, but just say, these are the facts, we're having a meeting, we're having a forum, come to see other forum, and that's the type of thing I think that we should be able to do.
Thank you. Mike?
I agree, use every method available. The only thing is I have a smartphone with no contract and I have nearly 6,000 minutes on it. Tells you how often I use it. But there's currently a town blog, there's the town page on Facebook, there's channels 8, 9, 99, and there's posters, as somebody mentioned earlier on, outside. So it is pretty well distributed. There's the town hall website as well, although I found that difficult to use. So I think I'd just say any other device that you can use, great. But I think we really do, for most people, use a pretty good selection, and most people should be able to find out what's going on.
So the same person had a follow-up to that very question. Do you believe that as a member of the Board of Selectmen, you should participate in social media discussions about town concerns? But more importantly, would you be quick, I'm reading this verbatim, to post a response on a non-town sanctioned social media page with information as a representative of the leadership of our town? And if so, why? Or I'm going to presume why not?
You go first.
No,
Well, I'm not sure I caught all of it, but no.
No, you wouldn't be quick to respond? I mean, I think that's the meat of the question. Would you just quickly post a response on a non-town sanctioned social media page
No.
with information?
There has to be limits to the way any town person in any position sends out information. It's far too easy, I think, to just, I mean, I see people going, they're walking along, catching a bus, driving a car, anything. And it would be very, very easy to send out something which you ought not to have sent out, which is misleading, which is none of the person's business, and so on. And do it, you know, just to reply quickly. No, I'm not in favour of general access to anybody, and I think it ought to go through town-sponsored media, not privately. So, again, I'm not sure that's a good answer, but no.
All right, thank you, Michael. Ruth?
Can I answer a question with a question?
You can try.
Okay,
If you were going to answer both questions, sure.
for instance, okay, I was at this Board of Selectmen meeting a couple weeks ago, and they talked about the water. They had an open, what'd you call it? But anyway, they talking about the water rates, and the water rate for the water is going up 2%, I think, and the sewer rate's going up 3%. Maybe it's the opposite. I don't have it in front of me to look. And I thought, now that's information that the town should have, that the rates are going to be going up. Now, would I post that? What do you consider, I guess, and that's the one thing, would that be appropriate to post? I think it'd be appropriate to post on a town-sanctioned media, but would it be and I'm not quite sure what you mean town-sanctioned.
Well, I'm going to interpret as best I can. The town has its Facebook page. Each selectman, each appointed official, each elected and appointed official of the town have a town email address. Town has its Facebook page. We've all seen on the Facebook media, I think Michael mentioned a blog. There are community pages that are run by independent individuals, moderators, and we all, for the most part in this room, probably have a Facebook page, myself included. I didn't set it up. And we're quick to respond and quick to post. That's how this event happened, exactly how it happened. And the question is that, non-town sanctioned would be, in my humble opinion, the private blogs, the personal email, personal Facebook, social media pages. I know there are several different varieties. I'm limited to Facebook.
It's like, just like the Ayer community page.
That's the blog page I think Michael was referring to. But exactly, this Shirley has one, most towns have one, and they're run by individuals or groups of individuals. So the distinction I'm making from the question is the town has its official social media, which is overseen by the town manager and the IT director, and the non-town social media would be everything else.
Okay, so the one that this was posted on, which is run, has a moderator and everything, so that would be considered non-sanctioned by the town?
It's
Oh, okay.
privately run.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is, just so you can answer, would you be, do you have concerns about, this says Board of Selectmen members, participating in social media discussions about town concerns? Obviously, that's one element of it. And then would you, as an elected official, be quick to post a response on a non-town sanctioned social media page with information on, as a representative of the town?
So I would say as a selectman, then the answer would be, I'd not be quick at all to post something, but on the non-sanctioned page. But should some things be posted officially on, yes, I think more should be posted officially. Things like the results of the meeting, results of water rates going up, and, or the results of the water testing. I think that should be posted on the official page.
Thank you. And I'm sure we could talk social media for the rest of the evening, but I have 3 other questions that are going to get us off this topic completely, and then we'll go back to social media if we have time left. We also have, I have another candidate here to hear from. He is fortunately, luckily, happily unopposed, but he was invited to speak to us as well. So this came from a resident. I had a little dialogue with her because I wanted her to have a complete background for her question, but her first attempt at it was creating a noise bylaw. Well, we have a noise bylaw, and I pointed her to that, and she sent a follow-up revised question for the selectmen. Would you, as a selectman, support a review of the current noise bylaw in Ayer, Article 39, Roman numerals, not too many of us know what those are anymore, and its enforcement? There are noise concerns interfering with the quality of life for Ayer, and formal town support is needed. Now, she did not indicate what specific noise complaints, so you're welcome to address any you are familiar with or not. Ruth, noise complaints, or noise bylaw, I'm sorry.
Well, if we have a noise bylaw, that's our law that we have to abide by, and if it's not being enforced, I don't know anything about that bylaw, to be honest with you. Whether it's enforced by the police, whether it's enforced by, I would assume it'd be the police, but that is something that if a resident has a concern about it, then we should look at it and see what's not being done properly. Then it should be done properly.
Thank you. Michael?
If it's a review of a bylaw, then yes, by all means, let's look at it. Where I live, overnight I hear boom, 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 and so on, constantly. Have I done anything about it? No, because I'm lazy. But it's a noise, and it does affect me. So yeah, I'm happy enough to review any bylaw. What I'm not happy about, talking about bylaws, is it seems to me that over the past 5 years or so, we've written bylaws to cover everything in town. And some of them seem to me to be overly harsh and to need a review. But go back to the original questions, would I suggest a review of the town bylaw? And who you call to get action on it, yes, I would be in favour of that.
And just so everybody knows, the bylaw, the noise bylaw, has no applicability to the railroad. Water issues have been a growing concern for a lot of people in the last few weeks. on the non-town sanctioned social media pages. How do you feel the town should respond to the growing number of complaints about the quality of our drinking water? Would you be open to a forum where you would invite people in to speak with the Board of Selectmen on this issue? As I believe the writer says, some of the frustration comes from not feeling like residents are being heard by the town leadership. So, Michael, I think this is your turn to go first.
I saw a picture on some media or other the other day of, I think, a hot tub with some gravy or something like that in it. Certainly wasn't clean water. It seems to me that there is somebody in charge of water. Phone call to them should be all that is needed. If for some weird reason it's not possible to get clean water to somebody, then we should help out in any other way. But it seems so simple. You have a job, your job is to supply clean water. You're not doing it, do it. It almost goes back to the, doing other things during your company's work time. You have an obligation to do something, do it.
Well, the town is dealing with some very old infrastructure that we have. We have old pipes. We have, there's several dead-end streets, so the water just sits in those pipes for a long time until something happens and it stirs it up and then you end up with brown water. So it's a very difficult. It's also difficult with the contaminants in the water. I was at the Board of Selectmen meeting 2 weeks ago and they said the contaminant level has to be a certain parts per million. Well, the next time Mark showed up just 2 weeks later, oops, the state has lowered that now. So now it's a different regulatory amount. So it's a very difficult thing to have. We don't have our own wells anymore. The fact that the town has been providing, no one would have dreamed, 100 years ago that the town would be providing water. Maybe I should make that 200 years ago, because the pipes are somehow about 100 years old in some areas. And so some of these issues are being addressed as they're going along. They're redoing pipes down on the School Street, Grove Street area. They all just did Pearl Street a little while ago to try to provide, and they're still really working on it. But yet when someone calls in about it, I think it should be noted where the water is, the time of day, and they should be responded to right away also.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions in the audience? David?
Well, this is actually very appropriate because one of my things I had written down is that I'd like to see if you would both commit to, say, once a quarter of having a town meeting forum where basically you invite anybody that wants to come, all the selectmen, to sit up in the Great Hall and ask questions that, because so the Board of Selectmen meetings appear to be running fairly smoothly, but public input is not always high on the list of things because there's a lot going on. And random questions sometimes can really disturb me. But if, maybe the Board of Selectmen would commit to it once a quarter, going, look, we're gonna have a town meeting forum, here's the date, come up, and you can pretty much ask any question, and if we don't have the answer, we'll get back to you, which is, kind of a theme of what we've talked about before. But I'd like to see if maybe we can start committing to doing that once a quarter, not not once a month, but just give everybody a chance.
All right, one more from the... Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, it wasn't a statement, it was a question.
Yeah, would you commit to trying to do that?
I think it's a great idea, especially if you hold it upstairs in the town hall, because nobody can hear anything that anybody else is saying anyway. So you would always be satisfied, and so would I. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. I agree, if you go to town meeting, not town meeting, any of the meetings, you're heard, but you don't always get an answer. So, good idea.
Thank you, Ruth.
I think it would be a good idea also. Sometimes at the selectmen's meeting, you might hold up your hand, seems like for 5 minutes before they're actually recognized, or maybe they don't even recognize you. So, because that doesn't seem to be the agenda. It's what we want the business, we want to get it done. So having a forum where people can share ideas and talk about things and ask questions, I think would be a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, one more from the email world, and then if there's still a question about social media, we'll go back to it. But I wanted to give these folks a chance to do their closing and give our other candidate an opportunity as well, because we're only here for 20 more minutes. So I'm pleased that people have come and asked questions. This is for the 2 selectmen candidates present. Again, off of social media, Mass Development is proposing changes to the Devon's bylaws to allow the redevelopment of Vicksburg Square into approximately 300 housing units, many of which will fall within the former boundaries of the town of Ayer. The last effort to do so under a proposal submitted by Trinity Financial failed to receive the required unanimous support from the residents of Ayer, Harvard, and Shirley, as required under the governing legislation known as Chapter 498. Recent news articles from the internet indicate that Mass Development has met with residents of Devon's, Ayer, Harvard, and Shirley regarding the proposals. Public meetings are scheduled in each location beginning, actually 2 days ago. Yesterday, April 17th in Harvard. The public hearing in Ayer is scheduled for April 24th. The Shirley Board of Selectmen are meeting with the Mass Development officials on April 29th. There is no current schedule for Mass Development to meet with the Ayer Board of Selectmen. The question is a 3-parter, but they're easy parts. What was your involvement in, if any, in the previous redevelopment effort that failed? How familiar are you with and/or have you ever read Chapter 498? And would you support this new proposal? Why or why not on the last? So 3 parts. What was your involvement, if any, in the previous redevelopment effort? How familiar are you with or have you ever read Chapter 498? And I think at the end I'll ask a show of hands for those who have. And would you support this new proposal, meaning the redevelopment? Why or why not? Ruth, I think you're up first this time.
Okay, can I ask, what is Chapter 498? That's
Please.
Chapter 498 is the reuse plan for Fort
That's the
Devens,
reuse plan.
which was written by several of Ayer's former selectmen, other selectmen from other towns, and adopted by the federal government, the state government, and the 4 towns in 1993, I think, Bob?
I think shortly after closure.
So that is what it is, and it's the legislation that pretty much governs the operation of Devon's as it exists today.
Okay.
The culminating factor of 498, for everybody to know, is that in the year 2033, all the land at Devon's reverts back to the former towns, Ayer, Shirley, Harvard, and Lancaster.
Nice. Okay. All right, to answer the first one,
Your involvement in the previous...
Right, the only involvement I had was going to the meeting where the vote was taking, and I voted against the redevelopment into housing. That was my only involvement in that one. Of course, I learned a lot of information about it prior, but I did actually vote on that one. And as far as reading the entire chapter, I have not done that. I read portions of it, portions that interested me, and I was disappointed originally that the town voted to let Mass Development take the land in Devon's and do what they wanted with it, when I thought that our town should reincorporate that land with one of the smallest towns land-wise in the whole Commonwealth. And I thought that we should take that land back again. And so...
The last part of it was the new proposal to basically redevelop Vicksburg Square into approximately 300 housing units.
I haven't read much about it, so I don't honestly know what I'd say about it. Whether or not it's any different from the former proposal or not, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
I assume we're talking about Vicksburg Square.
Yes.
I was involved a little bit, but not in any definitive way. I didn't have any effect on it. I voted against it primarily on financial grounds. My understanding of the way the redevelopment was going to be financed, I basically didn't like, and so I didn't go along with it. The idea of redeveloping it, I thought was probably a pretty good idea. It's sitting there, it's getting to be an eyesore, there is a need for cheaper housing everywhere. So I'd basically be in favour of redeveloping it, just not the way it was being done financially. Chapter 498, no, I've not even really heard of it until now. I have some understanding of perhaps what's covered underneath it, but that's all. 300 houses. For a long, long time, I've thought that Devon's is going to become the 342nd town in the state. Okay, I still believe it will. So when you say that the land is going to revert back to the towns, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. Would I be in favour of it? Basically, yes, I think I would, yes.
And just for clarification, it's housing units, not necessarily houses. The plan, okay, just for
Okay,
everybody to
yes.
understand that. It's housing units.
Housing units, yes. We do not have enough affordable housing anywhere in the state.
All right. Elizabeth, no question? I didn't know if you were raising your hand or
I
not.
kind of want to make a statement.
Well, before, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
I know that there was at least one other question on the social media topic before I switched over to the other questions so we could get them in.
okay.
Do you still, Heather, you had the question, you're all set? Yeah?
No, it was just, it was following on the momentum of that conversation, but it's actually not really meant for just the candidates, it was meant across the board.
Okay.
I'll hold.
Short?
Sure.
Because
I have a concern with the schools.
This is not related to schools at all, that's a separate elected district.
Okay.
So there's nothing other than as residents voting, selectmen candidates should not be addressing the school issues because
Okay.
that needs to go to school committee. We did invite the single candidate for the school committee.
No.
And as I said, everyone on the specimen ballot was invited, save one person because I was unable to reach
All
him.
right.
So, okay? So with that, I want to thank, do you want to make a closing statement? I know, Ruth, you didn't finish your opening, so I don't know if you want to still.
Let me see if there's anything important. I'll just say a couple little things.
Sure.
And we already touched on, actually, the questions brought in a lot of things, and about the selectmen being available to others. I think the selectmen should make themselves available to residents and to speak with them. And I would also, as selectmen, I would also like to attend more. I've attended planning board, zoning board, conservation committees in the past, and I would do that more and try to work well with them as far as the selectmen are concerned. And selectmen sometimes need to make some very hard decisions, and so to expect that we have to make some decisions for the community that might not always be popular, but at least we want to have a good basis of communication there for everything that's done there. And I also, since I'm retired, but I work hard, but I have a flexible schedule, and I'd be available during the daytime for meetings or talking to people. Okay?
Thank you, Ruth. Mike?
I was rather hoping there'd be more questions about money, finance. I feel that the town is overtaxed, drawn that we're lower than a lot of the other towns around. A lot of things don't get too much discussion. 600,000 for a new fire engine may be perfectly valid, but it's going to come up in a couple of days' time and most people won't have even heard about it. 7.1 million for a playing field. I think that the Patriots are going to come out here to practice because it's better than their playing field. The tax rates, the division between commercial and private, I'm in favour of it from a personal point of view, not in favour of it otherwise, and I would have liked to be able to talk to that a bit more. Otherwise, thank you for the questions, thank you for your attendance, and I did have one brief paragraph here. If I can find it, it reads this way. Though, on reflection, I'm too old to reverse the destruction of the town. Please your vote to elect Ruth as your next selectman, and thank you for your time and interest. I could go into the story of why I decided to pull papers and so on, but I think Ruth would make a better selectman than me, and I would like to recommend that you all vote for her. Sorry, we're friends.
I've been sitting here listening to you, and I've been thinking, I like what he's saying. I said that. So I think you'd make a good selectman too, I really do.
Thank you both very much, and please don't leave, because we're going to bring up our single candidate for the 3-year library trustee position.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was going to say, please. He's a longtime friend of mine, former town council, retired district court judge, Robert Gardner, born and raised in Ayer. So he is the single candidate for the 3-year library trustee position and has come to speak to all of us.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind introduction, Pauline. I want to thank Pauline Conley and Heather House for arranging this candidates night, and I really appreciate the opportunity to address the town, and I want to thank the Cable APAC for broadcasting this. My name is Robert Gardner. For those of you who don't know me, I was born in Ayer, and I've grown up in Ayer, and I've lived in Ayer virtually all my life. I've been on a lot of different boards and held many positions throughout my time, and I was actually on the library trustees several years ago during the expansion of the library. And you know, I was asked to get involved again. I just recently retired from the state for my job, so I do have a fair amount of time available to do different things. I'd like to stay involved. It's been said by many that we're drowning in information, but we're starved for knowledge. I look at the library as one of the great opportunities, one of the great institutions in any community for individuals to obtain knowledge. First of all, I think the Children's Library is very well run. I'd like to assist in expanding that. I think also there's a need in any municipality, in any community now, for the opportunity for people who perhaps are not well versed with social media and with technology to assist them in trying to sift through all the information that's out there to actually understand and obtain the knowledge. And we're all basically able to get on our phones and hit Google or Chrome and come up with the answer to some question. Is it right? Who knows? And is that where we stop on the whole situation? I found personally the library staff to be very welcoming, very knowledgeable, to assist people in obtaining information, whether it's through books or through technology. Obviously, the books are still very, very valuable resource, but there will be a day when it will be all technology. Some of the items that I'd like to assist the library staff in would be to upgrade the strategic plan. Strategic plan is a condition preceding to obtaining state grants, so that's extraordinarily important, and also as a corollary to that, or to attempt to obtain state grants. I'd like to try to stimulate more interaction between the Ayer school system and the library, also the town hall, and stimulate more communication between the two institutions. Also, I think that the Ayer Court could be a resource that's perhaps not being utilized greatly by the library with classrooms, students going over there, and perhaps even obtaining community service work. I know they've done that recently. So I see my time is up. Thank you all very much. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm running for the 3-year position that's unopposed so far. I don't have anything to do with the library or me, but I decided to run for it. Does anybody have any questions?
David and Heather, so.
Go ahead.
Not really a question, just more, I admire the work the library's been doing to become more of a community focal point, that it's no longer just where I would go with my mom to get my library card and then get books, like some of the art things, you know, my daughter's little blues duo performed there in the back room, and it was, I think the library's done a lot very recently in the past 18 months to 2 years to kind of create that community arts center, because of course that's how you got to keep the young people engaged, and other people is not just what the library has on its shelves, but what is within it. And so I admire that and hope that you as a member of the trustees continue that path. So thank you, and thank you for running.
Oh, thank you. I've had a library card since the, well, I probably shouldn't tell you how many.
Almost as long as me.
Do they still have library cards now, or do you just kind of, or do you get microchipped and walk through the door? Right?
Yeah, it's a library card. It's more of a technological.
Yeah.
But I think the staff has done a great job expanding the library services. And they have a lot of different lectures that are very interesting. We put together movies. I saw a fantastic movie down there about Mr. Rogers and what a significant impact he had on testifying before Congress and getting monies appropriated for public public television. So, you know, it's got a tremendous amount of potential. But thank you very much. So I tend to try to foster that and expand that in a way I can.
That's great.
But I'm not here criticizing all that's been done. I think they've done a wonderful job.
No, I think it's great, and I think it's all building blocks, you know, so.
David?
I'd also like to thank Ms. Brenner for running and staying active. And a suggestion, because yesterday I had mentioned to a member of our historical commission wanting to do some research, and I was able to actually go down to the library this morning and talk to Bob, who runs that part of the library. And once again, similar to a couple of years ago, it's just an amazing resource that I really think that the library, maybe through a trustee, could actually inform the town a little bit more that's there. I mean, Bob is great. And by the way, while I was sitting there, that same historical member came in, gave me my picture, gave me my answer, and Bob was able to actually pull the town report and show me the active town report from 1902, and all within a few minutes. And I guess I would be asked that once you get on, because you're running unopposed, that you actually maybe push that or make that a little more visible, because I personally think that people don't really understand that room is there, and it's not hidden, but it's enclosed because there's a lot of important documents and it can't just be left wide open. But I would hope that you would encourage more advertising for that.
Well, that's an excellent idea. It's called the Nutting Room.
Right.
After Silas Nutting, who was around long before 1902. And there's a lot of artifacts. I think there's been an upsurgence in history with the community and also with country recently. There's also a lot of artifacts that are stored off-site, not owned by the library or controlled by the library. And I've had discussions with the person who owns that material or controls it, and also with the library to see if something couldn't be worked out. I mean, I understand it's important. Private ownership of items are very important, but perhaps people could, loan the library some articles, and we could expand the historical aspect of the library. But yeah, it's a wonderful resource, and you're right. I mean, you go in, it's down on the right. For anybody who's not aware of it, it's called the Nutting Room, and I've I've been there, and I hate to say, but I do remember some of the items, not 1902, but I do remember some of the items. But thanks very much, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob, for coming, I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
There is another unopposed candidate who submitted a written statement. There's approximately 10 copies, so there should be enough there for everybody to have one. For the couples, you can take one. If there's enough.
For what position,
you can have-
pardon?
I'm sorry, John Kilcommons, who is running for the Board of Assessors.
Okay.
He is not here tonight with his apologies because he's an accountant and tax season ended Tuesday for him, and he booked out of town because he needs to be back here for a personal reason on Monday, plus the election, although I encouraged him to go vote before he left, which he did. So please feel free to take a copy of what he wrote. And I thank you all very much for coming. I knew we would have an audience of 1, but I'm happy to see we have an audience of about 12, which is nice. And remember, APAC will begin broadcasting this tomorrow. I'm sorry, that would be Friday, April 19th. For those of you who are watching this on Sunday, tomorrow is not going to be helpful. And it can also be live streamed, which is a concept foreign to me, on the Ayer, A-Y-E-R, PAC.org website.
Sorry,
And all you do is hit the play button.
Sorry.
Your time's up.
Well, I didn't put time
Somehow I mustn't put the timer on, like, in my pocket.
It's been a very long time since we've had a forum where we've actually had public participation, and that is very important to me. Public participation in our town government was a theme tonight as well. And I'm going to say a big thank you to my friend Ernie, who must have asked a half a dozen different ways, why aren't we having one on that non-town sanctioned social media theme thing? And I saw it one day and got in touch with Heather that day or the next morning and said, let's do this, would you do it with me? And she said, I'm in. So here we are. And it was Heather's idea we do this again next time. So watch for it in the next election, which is probably next April.
Well, thank you
We'll
both.
get it out earlier.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you. And good luck to the candidates.